All right, hi everyone. My name's Grace. This is my husband Dixon. I'll be presenting to him for this assignment. So today we're going to be talking about theism with an international context. So the reason I chose this specific context is because there are actually many other religions that do not agree with theism, including different denominations of Christianity itself. But especially in other countries, there are lots of different religions that do not agree with theism. So I think that this is a pretty simple topic, but we're going to go over just a brief description of what theism is. So I've got two main points here of what theism is. And so firstly, theism is the belief in a God who is three things. Firstly, sovereign. Secondly, personal. And thirdly, triune. So firstly, sovereign, meaning that God ordains everything and his perfect plans cannot be and will not be thwarted. It is important to note that free will still applies here, but we're not going to get into the discussion of free will because we'll go down a completely different rabbit hole. Secondly, personal, meaning that God speaks, acts, and is present as well as involved in the world we see around us today. And then triune, meaning that we believe in one God, but there's three in one. Those three being the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So that's the first point. Second point is that theism believes that God does five things. Firstly, sustains. Secondly, creates. Thirdly, rules. Fourth, reveals himself to us. And fifth, redeems his people according to his perfect purposes. So firstly, created, meaning that God created everything that we see around us, which we see in Genesis 1-3. And then secondly, sustains, meaning that without Christ everything would die. In John 15:5 it says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing. So I thought that was a good verse that kind of points us back to sustains. And then thirdly, rules, meaning that God governs, reigns over all of his creation. He holds dominion over everything on earth as well as in heaven and hell. And then fourthly, he reveals himself to us, meaning that in two ways we see Christ on earth now. Firstly, we see him through the creation around us, what we see outdoors and in each other, because we were both creation. But this is called general revelation, that type of way that we see Christ. And then secondly, we see him in his word, his written word in the Bible, and this is called special revelation. And then fifthly and finally, he redeems his people, meaning that through not only his spoken covenants that we see in the word, but through the saving salvation work of his son, Jesus Christ, he redeems us from eternal suffering. And John 3:15 is a wonderful reference that points us back to this point. But I want to point out that he redeems his people, which is another idea in Reformed theology, talking about the elect. So Jesus Christ came, shed his blood for the people he predestined to be elect, meaning that they are the chosen ones. He didn't have to save any of us, but he saved some. So now pointing back to that international context. Firstly, it's important to acknowledge that there are major religions that do believe in theism, such as Christianity, and Islam and Judaism. But there are a lot of other religions that are widely known that do not believe in theism, which makes talking about it, teaching about it, going to other countries important to talk about this topic, such as Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism. So those are just other examples of different religions that do not believe in theism. But historically, theism shapes a lot of our morals and our rules, our laws, how our government operates, not only in this country, but other countries as well. So it's applicable inside religion, but also we see it in a lot of underlying things as well. Theism is very relevant to teach in any international or national context because many individuals will probably already have a foreknowledge of what theism is without knowing the exact word. And then there are lots of individuals that have no understanding of Christ at all who won't know anything about theism, which makes telling them about it just as important too, because theism gives a better understanding of God as well as just salvation in general. So theism can be discussed how I broke it down today, with breaking up the points and explaining potential confusing or misunderstood words, and having scriptural evidence as well as I presented today. So, do you have any questions? All right, thanks for watching, and yeah.